Good morning, everyone. Today, we will present to you our assigned topic entitled The Phenomenological Method of Investigation by Martin Heidegger. But first, let us know a little bit about the biography of Martin Heidegger. Martin Heidegger was born on September 26, 1889 in Germany. Martin Heidegger was arguably one of the most influential philosophers of the 20th century, mainly due to his beliefs against positivism for modernity and technological world domination, which makes him largely quoted in the post-modern world.
He was born in a religious Catholic family and was destined to provide service in the local church. His father was also sacristan in the local church. His early education was conducted on Constance in 1903 and was financed by the church. In 1906, he moved to Freiburg, but in 1911, Heidegger broke off from the seminary and left training for priesthood. Some say it was due to health reasons, while others argue it was perhaps due to lack of spiritual involvement.
He started studying theology in the University of Freiburg, and in 1911 he switched subjects to philosophy. He also took up subjects such as mathematics and natural sciences. He had special interests in subjects such as phenomenology, psychology, existentialism, political theory, and theology. And in 1913, he completed his doctorate in philosophy.
In provisionally characterizing the object which serves as the theme of our investigation, it seems that we have also delineated the method to be employed. The task of ontology is to explain being itself and to make the being of entities stand out in full relief. The method of ontology remains questionable in the highest degree, as long as we merely consult those ontologies which have come down to us historically, or other essays of that character. Moreover, we use the term ontology, we are not talking about some definite philosophical discipline standing in interconnection with the others.
Here, one does not have to measure up to the task of some discipline that has been presented beforehand. On the contrary, only in terms of the objective necessities of definite questions and the kind of treatment which the things themselves require can one develop such a discipline.
With the question of the meaning of being, our investigation comes up against the fundamental question of philosophy. Thus, our treatise does not subscribe to a standpoint or represent any special direction, for phenomenology is nothing of either sort, nor can it become so as long as it understands itself. The expression of phenomenology signifies primarily the methodological conception. Thus, the term phenomenology expresses a maxim which can be formulated as to the things themselves.
Phenomenology is the method to know is what is the essence of given phenomena. It is going beyond appearances because we cannot simply judge others or a thing by their appearances. The goal of phenomenology is to go back to the original experiences without biases and prejudices by bracketing those biases and prejudices we have. Phenomenology has two components, such as the phenomenon and the logos. The term phenomenology is formed like theology, biology, sociology, names which may be translated as the science of God, science of life, science of society. This would make phenomenology as the science of phenomena. We shall set forth the preliminary conception of phenomenology by characterizing what has in mind in the terms two components, such as the phenomenon and the logos, and by establishing the meaning of the name in these, which these are put together.
Now, let us discuss the concept of phenomenon according to Martin Heidegger. The term phenomenon signifies to show itself, or things that appears. Thus, we must keep in mind that the expression of phenomenon signifies that which shows itself in itself, the manifest. Accordingly, phenomena are the totality of what lies in the light of day or can be brought to the light, what Greeks sometimes identified simply with entities. Thus, in Greek, to the expression phenomenon signifies that which looks like something, that which is semblant or semblance.
We shall allot the term phenomenon to this positive and primordial signification of phenomenon, and distinguish phenomenon from semblance, which is the privative modification of phenomenon as thus defined. But what both these terms express has proximally nothing at all to do with what is called an appearance, or is still less a mere appearance. This is what one is talking about when one speaks of the symptoms of disease. Thus, appearance as the appearance of something does not mean showing itself. It means rather the announcing itself by something which does not show itself, but which announces itself through something which does show itself.
On the other hand, appearing is never a showing itself in the sense of phenomenon. Appearing is possible only by reason of a showing itself of something. So again, the expression appearance itself can have a double signification. First, appearing in the sense of announcing itself as not showing itself, and next, that which does the announcing, that which in its showing itself indicates something which does not show itself.
And lastly, phenomenon. The showing itself in itself signifies a distinctive way in which something can be encountered. On the other hand, appearance means a reference relationship which is in an entity itself, in which is such that what does the referring or the announcing can fulfill its possible function only if it shows itself in itself, and this is thus a phenomenon. Now, let us move forward to another component of phenomenology, which we are called the Logos. In Plato, Aristotle, the concept of the Logos has many competing significations, with no basic signification positively taking the lead. In fact, however, this is only a semblance which will maintain itself as long as our interpretation is unable to grasp the basic signification properly in its primary content. If we say that the basic signification of logos is discourse, then this word for word translation will not be validated until we have determined what is meant by discourse itself. The real signification of discourse, which is obvious enough, gets constantly covered up by the later history of the word logos, and especially by the numerous and arbitrary interpretations which subsequent philosophy has provided. Logos gets translated, and this means that it is always getting interpreted, such as reason, judgment, concept, definition, ground, or relationship.
But How can discourse be so susceptible of modification that logos can signify all the things we have listed and in good scholarly usage? Even if logos is understood in the sense of assertion, but of assertion as judgment, this seemingly legitimate translation may still miss the fundamental signification, especially if judgment is conceived in a sense taken over from some contemporary theory of judgment. Logos does not mean judgment, and it certainly does not mean this primarily. If one understands by judgment a way of binding something with something else, or the taking of a stand, whether by acceptance or by rejection.
Furthermore, because the Logos is a letting something be seen, it can therefore be true or false. But here everything depends on our steering clear of any conception of truth which is construed in the sense of agreement. On the other hand, the truth of judgments, however, is merely the opposite of this covering up, a secondary phenomenon of truth, with more than one kind of foundation. Both realism and idealism have with equal thoroughness missed the meaning of the Greek conception of truth, in terms of which only the possibility of something like a doctrine of ideas can be understood as philosophical knowledge. This interpretation of apopantical discourse may suffice to clarify the primary function of the Logos.
The, the preliminary conception of phenomenology. The term phenomenology is quite different in its meaning from expressions such as theology and the like. Those terms designate the objects of their respective sciences according to the subject matter which they comprise at the time. Phenomenology neither designates the object of its researches nor characterizes the subject matter thus comprised.
To have a science of phenomena means to grasp its object in such a way that everything about them which is up for discussion must be treated by exhibiting it directly and demonstrating it directly. The expression descriptive phenomenology, which is at bottom tautological, has the same meaning.
On the other hand, phenomenology is our way of access to what is to be the theme of ontology, and it is our way of giving it demonstrative precision, only as phenomenology is ontology possible. Furthermore, in the phenomenological conception of phenomenon, what one has in mind as that which shows itself is the being of entities, its meaning, its modifications, and derivatives. Behind the phenomena of phenomenology, there is essentially nothing else. On the other hand, what is to become a phenomenon can be hidden.
Finally, phenomenology is the science of the being of entities, ontology. Being is the transcendence pure and simple. Every disclosure of being as the transcendence is transcendental knowledge. Phenomenological truth, the discloseness of being, is veritas transcendentalis. Higher than actuality stands possibility. Therefore, we can understand phenomenology only by seizing upon it as a possibility. This is our report according to Martin Heidegger entitled The Phenomenological Method of Investigation. Once again, good morning to everyone.